Okay, so just to give a quick recap. So our whole idea is that we need to understand how to use data as a resource. Data is not something that we just need to collect and then give it to someone, or that is there and we don't know what to do with it. But we need to understand all of the different stages, from like how to collect it, how to process it, how to store it, how to analyze it, and how to understand it. So visualize it and use it, right? And all of our technologies, all of our ideas are built around this. So, for example, one of these possible technologies is using data in, yeah, thank you, is using data to measure tourism flows, and then helping tourists disperse over other destinations as well. So basically you're measuring where tourists are coming. So you're measuring foot traffic in the mountains, you are measuring the traffic counters that we have in Slovenia readily available. And then you're actually combining all of this data. You're combining data from the weather, you're combining data from the air pollution, from the land surface temperature, which shows heat zones in the city. And by combining all of this, then you can get a more broader overview of like what is the situation currently, and where there is too much tourism, or like where there are too many tourists at this point in time, and where there are like not enough, or like where there is still space for them to be, right? So the whole idea is that then you can spread them. You can show the tourists as well. It's like, oh, these are very similar to the places you're looking for, but it's maybe more affordable. Maybe you can experience even something more interesting, you know? So this was our idea behind one of this application. And when you talk about data, you can basically, you're always fighting with your perception, or like working with your perception, but sometimes that perception can really, steer you wrong. So you can maybe make wrong choices. So this was just an example. It's quite an old example that we have, but this is a total amount of waste for each month in 1 year. Right. And this is in one municipality, which is quite a big Slovenian municipality with a lot of number of one-day visitors. So we asked the question, so like, how much do you think the tourists produce at the destination? So is it like 1/3, 1/2, 2/3? A lot of the answers usually were around half of something like this. But when we actually analyzed the data, we went to how many do the hotel facilities, how much waste do they have, and so on. We actually found out that it was close to 5% or even less. So in this specific case, it was like this. And what we learned from this, if they have a problem with waste management, if they eliminate all of the waste in tourism, they will solve the problem for 5%, right? So basically not much. So if they should focus on something, they should focus on something else. But you can only know this when you have the data to actually give you this overview, this view into the problem, right? Into the challenge, let's say. Then what you can learn from this is like, oh, maybe we should focus on other aspects. And when you are making changes, you can also focus on how effective the changes have been. So even if the waste was bigger, like if you make some solutions to decrease the amount of waste in the destination, then what you can do is like, okay, we made solutions and now we will measure it. But if you didn't measure it before, you don't know for how much you have decreased the amount of waste. So actually what you're missing is like this before and after to measure the effectiveness of your actions. So this is why data is important, right? To know if what we are doing makes sense that we are doing it and how effective it is. And then we go on the next step, which is the ESGs. So ESGs means environmental, social, and governance indicators, let's say. It used to be talked about a lot, but lately it's becoming mandatory, even according to law and European and so on. And of course, These are global regulations. This is something that the customers are expecting because more and more customers are realizing we are all a part of this planet, and that what big companies are doing and how they consume, so how they buy things, how they use things, also impacts the entire planet. So being more green and knowledgeable about these sustainable practices, and even the investors are understanding this, the banks are understanding this, and they are requiring not only financial indicators, but also this kind of sustainability indicators, so the ESG indicators. And SMEs are one of the key players in sustainability and supply chain transformation, which means the big players, yes, of course, the consumers, yes, of course, but this also pertains to all of the SMEs and all of the different companies who are also who present a big percentage of the entire scope, that we are all a part of this chain, even if we maybe are not required to report this by law. So just to give a short introduction, so environmental is, we're talking here about energy efficiency, we're talking waste reduction, sustainable sourcing. So basically how we impact the environment, also how we impact the biodiversity and so on. And then on social scale, we have from the perspective of a company, we have the employee well-being, diversity, inclusion, fair wages, but also treating customers, treating local population who share the space with the company. And then in governance, here we are talking about governance inside of the company, which is ethical business practices, compliance, risk management. So this how the company is run is what it means. And why this is good from a company perspective, because a well-implemented ESG strategy, which should just be a company strategy, it reduces costs, it improves reputation, ensures long-term business viability, which means a company becomes more resilient if they are using these practices. More on this later. So the ESG is an opportunity because it gives competitive advantages, because you can attract a different niche of customer, a more understanding customer who is knowledgeable and wants to be sustainable. Cost saving, because a lot of the ESG indicators are also focused on actually analyzing all of the work processes that are happening in the company and trying to figure out what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what is good for the company, good for the planet, and so on. Brand trust, of course, this, if you're being ESG compliant, then if you're a part of a big supply chain of a green company, or if you're building your own supply chains, you are more attractive to other potential companies who would like to work with you, because the end goal is the entire chain is green. And then access to funding, as we said, many financial institutions now favor ESG businesses, not only financial, but also sustainability indicators are questioned. And now a little bit like on European level, some of you probably know, but the CSRD, so the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. It's a big name, but all it means that now it is a regulation about how companies should present or should report their ESG indicators. Right? This used to exist before. It was called the Non-Financial Reporting Directive, which means that it was for the non-financial indicators. And the aim is to increase the transparency and standardization. That means that when you will have two reports from two different companies, you'll be able to put them side by side and understand how they connect together. The goal is also to have the reports readable readable by computers. So basically that you can have that the computer can tell you these differences, like even if they're structured in a different way, which makes it a lot easier to compare. Right? So this transparency is a big part of this new reporting directive. So, for example, in this directive, we have the carbon emissions, energy usage, resource efficiency, the workforce diversity, labor rights, customer protection, and then ethical practices, risk management, anti-corruption measures, just to name a few. It is a lot of them. And what is required now is that you can't pick and choose. Oh, we'll do this, but we won't report this because this doesn't make us look good. But you have to say you can report some or no, but you have to say why you chose not to report some of them. So it's like, oh, these are not related to us. You have nothing to do with this, and that's totally fine. But like you can just say, oh no, we won't be doing this because it doesn't look good. And then the directive, the necessity of the directive, the large companies must already report it now from 2024. So this is already in, and all the SMEs who are listed on the stock market will have to report it by 2026. Right? So these are the companies, these are who we are buying from as consumers, these are what products we are using, they already have to report this. And the impact on other companies that are a part of this chain, the even non-listed SMEs, that means SMEs who are not on the stock market, will be indirectly affected because of the supply chain requirements. So if you're a big company, if you're someone who is required to report this sustainability standards, then you actually need to report for your entire chain. Right? You're not only responsible for yourself, but for all of your suppliers, all of your distributors. Right? So in short. Like we said, we have the business-to-business supply chain impact, competitive advantages, access to financing, cost saving, and doing the right thing. So we've been talking like what are the benefits, and there are many about using the ESGs, but we must not forget that just doing the right thing is what makes the whole planet, let's say, resilient, more reliable, and what makes the company itself resilient. So the company who can live for a long time is a company who have customers for a long time. And if we don't have a world where this is available, then of course there will be no customers. So, let's think about resilience and how this is changing and how our world is changing and how we can impact this. And just maybe a few words about double materiality. It's an idea that is inside the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. It basically means that as a company, as a business, you must report both on the financial and impact materiality, which basically just means that you need to look at everything from two perspectives. So financial materiality is the outside-in perspective. So basically how the company will receive the money, who will pay the money, and how this is affected by various factors, right? So, and then the impact, this is very, very easily put. It's a little bit more complicated than this, but for now, for this webinar, let's put it like this. And then the impact materiality, which is basically how the activities that the company does impact the environment, society, stakeholders, and everyone around them. So, for example, a very blunt example is that if you are producing something that has a toxic waste and you're dumping this waste in the local waters, then all of the local population is very negatively impacted by you. You, of course, will lose standing, they will sue you in court. And then, of course, this impacts your financial materiality because you will be losing money and because you will lose on reputation. So this is a very, very basic, very blunt example, but this is just, how it works in both ways. And now I would like to let you rest from my speaking for just a little bit. And we have a couple of videos who tell a little bit about on this subject, and hopefully you will enjoy them.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, in exploring the opportunities within the Web 3.0 greening of the value chain, there are several use cases that shed light on how Web 3.0 technology can help the greening of the value chain and sustainable business models. I will be presenting two such cases, offering insights into the potential of Web 3.0 technology. Additionally, I will conclude with the case study on collective territorial brands of Slovenia initiative, revealing its impact on local offerings, sustainability and economic growth. The next use case talks about reshaping the landscape of mass tourism through smart destination management. Picture culture tourism destination, seamlessly integrating AI-powered system to optimize visitor flows and resource allocation, all while reducing environmental impact and enhancing visitor experience. This isn't merely a vision, it's fastly becoming a reality. Let's focus on one example use case, flows. Flows is a platform that provides a powerful visualization tool mapping of tourism flows, accidents in the mountains, and weather conditions in specific regions. This tool empowers destinations to strategically plan their services and infrastructure development based on real-time data, ensuring a seamless experience for visitors while minimizing environmental impact. So how does it work? Flows utilizes GDPR compliant advanced data analytics to understand and predict visitor patterns, offering invaluable insights to the dynamics of the location. By harnessing the power of AI, destinations can optimize resource allocation, anticipate peak visitation times, and enhance safety measures, ultimately bettering the overall visitor experience. Why is smart destination management so important? Firstly, it revolutionizes how destinations operate. By harnessing data-driven insights, they can customize their services to meet the ever-evolving needs and expectations of visitors. Furthermore, it fosters sustainability by relieving congestions, decreasing energy consumptions, and safeguarding the natural beauty of the cultural treasure in a given area. Slovenia serves as an exemplary case of how flows-like system can operate. The Mountain Engineering 4.0 project that concluded in the start of 2024 to lead the charge with the innovative technologies to monitor hike traffic on hiking trails. In collaboration with the Alpine Society of Slovenia, Cipra Slovenia and Alpine Club Tržič, 30 sensors have been strategically placed across 5 popular destinations. This real-time data, seamlessly integrated into the Maps application alongside weather, traffic and accident information, provides invaluable insights for sustainable managing alpine visits. Of course, there are also challenges: data privacy concerns, technological limitations, and the need for stakeholder collaborations are just a few to overcome. Yet the potential benefits are big. In conclusion, smart destination management represents a paradigm shift in how we approach tourism. By harnessing the power of AI and data analytics, destinations can optimize visitor experiences, minimize environmental impact, and unlock new opportunities for sustainable growth.
Yep, exactly. Like also shown in the beginning, basically the idea is to make the system smarter, more sustainable, and also more resilient, while not at the cost of workers, not at the cost of a visitor's experience, but actually enhancing that experience. So by taking some of the technologies and implementing them in studies or like in cases for smart tourism, like maybe even making some of the processes automatic with automatic check-ins and so on, then you can give space to other aspects, for example, that require more human contact when you're talking, when you're asking for advice. So basically, it becomes a combination of both the technology and on personal level, because especially in tourism, we know how much it means, this personal connection that you have. So this is just to say that it's very important that we don't forget this second aspect, right? So now that we have technologies, we can cut all other costs. This doesn't usually go like this. So all of these technologies, all of this thinking has to go hand in hand. Okay. And now a little bit about farm to fork, so which is also one of the ideas with the sustainability and ESG reporting.
Let's begin with a use case about traceability and sustainability in the food industry. Farm-to-fork traceability. Imagine you're at a dinner, enjoying a meal at the local restaurant, fully aware of the origin of each ingredient on your plate. Imagine you knowing how the food was cultivated and the short journey it took to reach your table. This level of transparency is made possible by blockchain-enabled traceability, revolutionizing how we view and interact with our food. But what exactly is farm-to-fork traceability? It involves the careful tracking of food products from the cultivation on the farm to the consumption, ensuring transparency and accountability at every stage of the supply chain. This concept has gained great significance in the recent years, driven by the concerns surrounding food safety, local produce, sustainability, and ethical sourcing. Now, why is farm-to-fork traceability so important? Firstly, it's a game changer for food safety. By pinpointing the source of any contamination or illness outbreak fast, it minimizes risk and produces consumers. Moreover, it guarantees good quality, meeting the rising demand of high-quality sustainable products. Think of it as a window into the ethical and environmental practice behind each bite you take. So how does it work? Technology plays a pivotal role. Blockchain ensures a transparent ledger of food transactions, while RFID tags and QR codes on the product enable real-time tracking and provide consumers with comprehensive product information. Additionally, traceability software streamlines the management and tracking of the product through the supply chain. Of course, regulation and standards are essential. Many countries mandate traceability to uphold food safety and quality. International bodies like ISO and Codex Alimentarius Commission provide further guidelines, ensuring consistency and reliability across borders. Yet challenges persist. Data standardization and upfront cost of implementation can pose obstacles, particularly for smaller producers. Encouraging widespread adoption demands collaboration and overcoming resistance from certain industry sectors. But the benefits far outweigh the challenges. Rapid identification of safety issues, enhanced consumer confidence, and expanded market access are just a few of the rewards. In Slovenia, for example, hotels and restaurants serving the Ljubljana breakfast are revolutionizing the dining experience by sourcing ingredients directly from local farmers and employing blockchain-enabled traceability. This ensures that people indulge in this iconic meal are not just treated to a delightful culinary experience, but also provided with unparalleled transparency. By knowing the origin of each ingredient, consumer can make informed choices, supporting sustainable farming practices and ethical sourcing. The Ljubljana Breakfast Project won under the name Green Supply Chain Project the Energy Globe Award 2021 for Slovenia in the category Earth. Launched in 2015, it involved Tourism Ljubljana and local partners. This sustainable initiative remains vital for Ljubljana's gastronomic industry and surrounding food providers. In conclusion, farm-to-fork traceability is more than a buzzword. It's a shift in how we approach food, by ensuring safety, quality and sustainability while meeting consumer expectations for transparency and ethics. It's reshaping the future of our food system.
Okay, so we all eat, so we all know this is important for us. But what actually we really need to be, what we really need to think in this case is the idea that we know where our food comes from. Because I feel like too many times in the supermarket when I go, I would like to know the origin of some food, and then you're like desperately looking at the labels, and you maybe get it down on a country level, but that's about it. But with this kind of idea that is developing with technology, with the help of technologies, is basically that you know which farmer produced this ingredient, which then can make it so much easier for all of the different traceability of all of the different factors, like also what kind of how bio it is, if we say it like this. So how many pesticides were used and what pesticides were used and so on. So it gives you really in-depth view in the whole food that we are putting in our bodies, that we're eating daily, and maybe just a little more realization about how we are connected to this world. There is one more video waiting for us.
To come to our last example, let's talk about collective territorial brands of Slovenia. This initiative isn't just about showcasing products. It's about celebrating Slovenia's culture and gastronomic richness while driving sustainability and economic growth. So what's it all about? The Collective Territorial Brands of Slovenia initiatives aims to consolidate local offerings and shorten supply routes, similar to the farm-to-fork principle. By promoting the finest craft products, food products, restaurant menus, and immersive experiences, the destinations using the Collective Territorial Brand approach are putting their cultural heritage in the spotlight while also fostering sustainability. This isn't just about boosting sales, it's about preserving traditions, supporting local businesses, and minimizing carbon footprints. The results speak for themselves. Slovenia and the destinations with territorial brands have experienced increased visibility for local businesses, enhanced preservation of cultural heritage, and a significant reduction in carbon emission thanks to these shortened supply chains. The Collective Territorial Brands of Slovenia initiative isn't just a success story, it's a model for how collective action can drive positive change. By embracing culture, supporting local producers, and prioritizing sustainability.
Yeah, the local, let's say, these collaborative chains are basically one of the best thing that can really be enabled by technology. So basically, you are connecting small players and you are giving them a larger stage. So the idea behind that is that they are not reliant on big distributors, big producers, but they are reliant on themselves to make the best, let's say, craft products that they can. So here, once again, we put the emphasis on the how the quality of the product. So the quality of the food, the quality of the things we use in our life. And not just like let's buy the cheapest, but actually we also as consumers that we think about what we are consuming, right? Because at the end it's up to us who are buying these things to support this with our thoughts, with our money, and so on. So actually this is a very, very important concept. And if you maybe have the opportunity, check around in your area, in your country, what kind of these collaborative options are available, and maybe take advantage of them sometimes. One of my favorite examples is that some Slovenia, we have a salt brand, which of course offers the product for the tourists, which basically means it's quite expensive. It's very beautifully packaged. It has a great story. But on the other hand, they're also using their same facilities to produce just the salt like a lot of Slovenians are just using in their kitchen with a normal price point and so on. So basically being able to separate these two factors is also one of great challenges that we face, but great opportunities as well to actually grow. So maybe just to take this point and introduce some other good practices. This also, when you are buying, like we say, we are trying now to, let's say, to buy local, right? To support local producers, to support their handiwork, their craft, and to also think about how all of the different emissions created by traffic are actually being produced while driving our produce and our ingredients and all our materials across the world, then actually to just use what is locally available. And then on the other hand, when you are buying products, to actually take a look at the companies you're buying from. What are their thoughts? How the products are produced, what materials they're made of, and so on. For example, here is just a list of 4 companies. This is not something that we say they are perfect or that we promote them. It's just something that exists, and we would like to show some aspects of them as good practice. So one of them is eco-friendly packaging. It's basically biodegradable packaging made from seaweed, right? So this is a new technology that, of course, is going to be more costly at the beginning, but following this kind of models, also explaining to your customers why it is important that this is something that is used, and making a story around it is really, really important. And then on the second part, the circular economy part, is Mad Jeans from Netherlands. I don't know if you are familiar with this, but they have like a lease a jean model, which means that you actually don't buy the jeans from them, but you lease them for 1 year. And so I just checked, I think it's around 11 euros per month. So in the end of the year, you spend around 140 euros for a new pair of jeans, which, some people even more, but, and then you own the jeans after a year and you can keep them or you can return them and you can get a new jean and you can continue paying for 1 year and then you own that jean. So basically it's actually just you own the jeans after 1 year, but you're paying every month and they take care of if everything goes wrong. If you need something repaired on your jeans, they do it for free when you send it to them. Of course, not a promotion for them. It's just something that maybe we really not think about, but for someone who would actually put a lot into fashion, who changes it because you can return it anytime, get a new pair of jeans and so on, maybe this is a solution. This is something to combat fast fashion, buying cheap things made from, let's say, fossil fuel materials on the internet and wearing them once and then putting in the cupboard or even worse, throwing them away. So a kind of an alternative to that. And then we have like Booking Hotel, Eco Hotel, which is basically they put a lot of technology into renewable energy usage. So how to use gray water to heat up water tanks and so on. And then also one example is sustainable sourcing, which is, I know probably heard about it, but it's Tony Chocoloni from Netherlands, which is basically was made with the sole idea that all of the chocolate used or all of the cacao used for this chocolate is sustainably produced. That means that everyone gets paid fairly, from the ones who are growing it, picking it, transporting it, making chocolate and then selling. So, right, that the entire chain is actually paid for, which doesn't happen with a large number of chocolate producers. So this was just some ideas how to actually think about sustainability, how the ESGs impact companies, impact us as consumers, and impacts our daily lives. But then again, we need to have a solution how we can do things better, right? How we can improve as consumers, how we can improve as companies. And here is like one of our solutions that we have here at Arctur. I'll be talking about this, of course, because it's the closest that we have, but so basically the idea behind this is that you measure, and by measuring, by having data, you can then make decisions. So by teaching companies, by teaching consumers what practices are sustainable, what exists, why something is good, even if it doesn't seem smart in the first view, that really they're just increasing the knowledge of people and making them, measure things, take data, and so on is how we are producing, how we are continuing this work. And then once you have these questions, once you have the data that you want to collect, you need a tool to help you collect this kind of data. And this is one of those tools. So this is why I'm talking about it. And what this tools also offers is an automatically generated report. In this case, that means once you input all of your data, you automatically get a report which tells you where you are good, where you are lacking, what you should improve, and some suggestions on how to improve. And an example of this kind of tool is Cross Retour, which is a European COSME project, which helps SMEs to actually be more green, to make the green and digital transition, to actually start thinking about how to use data, how to use technologies, and also how to incorporate ESG ideas, ESG indicators, sustainability indicators into their daily practices. Because a lot of the times when the company is faced with incorporating this kind of practices into their workflow, they say, okay, we're going to make the report and then we're going back to our daily business. But it's not really how it should be, because these practices are something that should be incorporated in every part of your daily business. And it is something that the entire company does, right? So it's not just one person who is in charge of this, but the entire company needs to understand the values and then act accordingly to the standards that are set. And this is very hard to convince for some companies, but some companies who really understand this idea are like way ahead of everyone else and are promoting their products and are actually really thriving in this world. So the incorporating these sustainability indicators, incorporating these ideas is basically the the things that the company needs to do to stay relevant, to stay resilient, to stay a part of this world which is so rapidly changing right now. And maybe one other aspect of ESGs that maybe we have not talked about so much is that being a resilient company means that you try to impact the environment and the social structures and the governance of the company in a positive way. So you try to make a positive impact, but you also make preparations for the things that are happening. So for example, if we take climate change, right? Especially in the Alpine region, the temperatures are getting higher, the weather is less and less predictable, the erosion is getting stronger, the flooding events are happening more and more frequently. And if a producer of fruit, vegetables, or whatever are not prepared to face these challenges, so they do not have the proper technology to deal with these proper tools, to deal with these changes, then this means that in a couple of years, when it will become too much, they will actually not be ready to produce the amount of food or amount of anything that we need. And then the entire supply chain who is reliant on this can be really negatively impacted. So wherever part of the chain you are working in, you need to realize that in the end, it is all connected. And it's not just like, oh, if you're doing good, then we're good. No. We have to think broadly. So that all of our partners, all of our things that we do in daily life as a professionals, as consumers, are connected. And what this sustainability indicators, these ESG indicators are trying to tell us is basically that we need to think about this, that we need to implement this thinking in our professional, in our private lives, because it is connected and the changes are impacting everybody. Okay, just a short sum up. So maybe back to the tool. So basically what we as Arctur are trying to do is this was a tool that was built with our automated assessment tool technology. We have around 15 or 16 of such tools for various different applications, from tourism to companies to high performance computing and so on. But the idea here is that the company can evaluate itself where they stand on digitalization and green transformation, and where do they see themselves in 2 years, and then how they can get there, right? So these are tools that are meant to be as first steps, as skipping stones, to just start thinking about this and actually start the journey towards the green and digital transition. So maybe just as a conclusion, I can say that it's not only reporting, it's doing. So this means that not just the sustainability report is not the end goal. This is just something so that we understand how we are changing from year to year as a company, or even as an individual. Let's say as a company for now. This means that we track the progress, we set the goals, we see if we reach them, if we didn't, why we didn't reach them, how we can improve this in the future. And so without reporting, we don't have this consistency, we don't have the data to make the changes. But that's not the goal. The goal is to have a resilient company who will be here in a couple of years' time and connected and making the world a better place. So we need to make plans. We need to start tracking our data with digital tools, preferably, because if you're writing everything down on a piece of paper, that usually gets lost in a drawer somewhere. We need to identify priority areas for development, for improvements, prepare for indirect impacts by aligning with reporting standards. We need to implement all of these ideas, use data, be more competitive, and then measure again. Right. So this entire process is an ongoing process that basically is not something that you should feel as a working person. You should feel threatened by or should feel negatively by, because it's just trying to give you tools to make your business more sustainable, to make your business more reliant, to make it so that your business exists in a couple more years. Right. So this is the goals. There are many tools out there that can help you with this. There are many experts that can help you with this. So, think around, look for yourself, and think about the entire implication. So I think that's more or less it for now. So I would like to thank you for listening. I think it was a lot of information. So all of these different things are available online. So of course you can rely on even now ChatGPTs and such that can help you, make a sense of all of this, but of course make research also yourself. But again, thank you for listening, and I would like to open the floor for questions now. So please.
I just want to add that I also I put a link to the automated assessment tool of the Prosper Tour project that Andraž was talking about. So you can try it out if you want to. It's free, and you can see what we're doing here, what the project was about, and how the data is collected on that specific tool. If anyone has any questions, you're very welcome to open your mic and yeah.
Hi there. Can I ask you something? You shared the link. We have to sign up for that one in order to log in.
Yes, basically you need to just press register, and then
We have to register.
Yeah, and then it just sends you an email to confirm the link, and that's it. So there's nothing else. This is just for email confirmation. And the tool also enables you to visit it anytime from either your mobile phone or computer or anything. So you don't have to fill it out all in one sitting. It saves the data. So,
Super. Thank you.
No problem.
Andraž, I think, mute. We're in the same office, so it won't echo. And I think if there's no questions, we can finish here. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out if you're too shy to maybe speak out. But I would like to thank Andraž for the presentation on the ESGs and the automated assessment tool. And I would like to thank everyone that's joined us today. Make sure to also check the Web3 Tour website for upcoming events, because we have a few more webinars coming up in the next month or so, even less. So you're very welcome to join also on those ones. The next one is tomorrow already. It's the entrepreneurship and professional development webinar hosted by one of the partners. So thank you again for the participation, and I hope you'll have a wonderful day ahead of you.